Hello, my name is Tristen Fry, and I am the writer director of Moosion Impossible Cowabunga. And here we are about to witness the absolute beauty that is called a director's commentary, where I sit here in the dark corner of my basement. I have a Jamba Juice with me, and I make comments about how, in little fun details, and kind of the mindset I had in regards to directing and making this film here.
Come on, come all. Sorry I had to relocate you all out here. Couldn't take any chances regarding outside interventions, as you know. I myself am
So with this scene here, this was meant to be filmed at a bit more of a professional location, but over the course of the 3-month production, we ran into some issues with the place to the point where we had to go with just a goat farm. And so there were goats everywhere, and I was thinking I'd want to make a joke to kind of start it, to do a bit of world building, saying that ultimately, goats have kind of replaced cows in terms of, dairy and beef and such. And that would have been a nice world building moment, but as we were filming that scene, we could not get a goat close enough to us to make it work. And then we just kind of gave up on it. And so something that when I first began working on this film, I wanted to really focus on having a lot more Leonardo DiCaprio screen time, which was something I've wanted to do since the first one. And ultimately, I knew that with making this, I'd have a lot of strict constraints in regards to what scenes he could appear in. So I tried to make sure he'd have more of a showcase with it here. And the goal with making this scene here where we have the auction was to have these different parties coming in that we end up expanding upon later throughout the whole film on why they're there and who they are. They're not just faceless. You can look at it. They each have their own reason to be there, and you can see where they come from. I mean, the auctioneer himself has his own. He's just the auctioneer, but the lawyer and then the guard, those represent parties in the film. And of course, Yama and then Agent Josh in the background there. Those all are meant to represent different parties, and I wanted to kind of give it a bit of a opening thing that could later be explained. So there's a bit of a tying thing to keep it all together. And so when I was working on this scene here, I ultimately got a lot of comments that it seemed a bit dark, and really because it is. It's the most, I'd say, harrowing scene in the entire film, and that's what I was going for. Typically, we have the rules of nerfing. No one really dies, but people do die in this scene, or it's implied that they die. Of course, I have some regulations because this is still a school film, but I really wanted to make Yama feel more terrifying by having him be taken so seriously here in the starting sequence. So you get that serious introduction, this dark and moody introduction, something that you'd see kind of more in a Mission Impossible movie with the tone and style that I wanted to go for. And then of course concluding with the sort of the big question reveal with Makshu Yama. And actually, fun facts. The green screen effects. Throughout the entire production of the movie, it was originally going to be a VFX model of Makshu Yama, which I was working on over the course of the production, but I could never get right. And then I just settled with the plush bull. No, I just grabbed him, holding him right here. He was meant to, and I just went ahead and just made a little green screen thing the day before the film's release and redid those scenes because I didn't like it.
We need to act immediately.
And so this scene here with the National Security Council, we actually are missing a person here. The production of this movie was kind of insane when you realize that this scene here where we have Oscar Bello Jr., McCall Sharman, and Avi Pierre, and I probably pronounced all those names wrong, sorry if you're ever watching, they're not in the same room. Oscar and McCall are, but Avi's not. And this is due to just the craziest production I've ever worked on, to where we'd get there to start filming, and then someone just oh, I'm so sorry, I just had something barely come up. Which it was a little frustrating at times, because it happened with more scenes than it should have. But we found a way to make it work, I hope.
This quickly led to zero, a mystery which awestruck us all.
But so this type of scene here is the National Security Council is something that actually is straight out of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I wanted to have a scene that felt familiar to the audience for those who have seen Mission Impossible movies, so they'd look at it and go, this is familiar, reminds me of Mission Impossible. But there's a bit of a twist to it, because that's what Mission Impossible is. When working on Cowabunga, I was split between two directions I go. Either I just go in my complete own wacky, bizarre adventure direction,
This is when it became
or
a
instead
traditional
I focus on going on a direction which is
Every country wants to get
completely
their hands
more
on
familiar,
this
something that
cow
is
and get their
reminiscent of
industries
Mission
back
Impossible.
on
And I ultimately went with the Mission Impossible feel, where I tried to get more familiar
They broke various
scenarios,
foreign
settings. I
policies,
watched the
sending
Mission
their
Impossible
agents to
movies
try and get this cow.
and analyzed them and tried to view
That's
them
what times call for desperate
in a way so
measures.
people
Isn't
can,
that what you said?
they seem similar in some ways, because it's a spoof franchise at the end of the day. And I wanted to remind of it instead of go in its own direction, which was the issue with the first Mission Impossible, where I felt it was just the name and then just wacky
The
stuff.
potential for warfare.
But so this scene here with the explanation, every now and then, Chief Justice Cal or Yama will just interfere with his own statement. I mean, there's the line where he looks to Oscar Sadly Mystic, because I'm just a yapper, where he talks about how like those agents' blood, the agent's blood is on your hands, and then like things you said, pretty much infringing, bringing back what here with the Department of Defense and bringing it back
In
on.
an unsanctioned mission.
Where it's
Did you
this
even get
is
the cow?
this is Yama's character you see right here.
And that blood.
And you
is
see
on
he's
your
judging him right here. You get that Yama, it's much more in the way Chief Justice Cal is Yama and not Yama is Chief Justice Cal. Because I like Chief Justice Cal's character a lot more. When writing, I wanted him to be more friendly and welcoming, but Avi instead opted for someone that felt a bit more Magneto-like, where it was a bit more serious. And I do like it, though. I think, at the end of the day, Chief Justice Cal is probably the best written character I've ever done. The issues just revolve around the fact that production made it really hard to make his character be in the film more. Of course, dramatic reveal,
We're all
bum.
trying to get this cow for ourselves. We
But so
need to
you see,
admit it.
with the where he's twisting things in his own way of what he thinks is right, talking down to people. That is the issue with Yama, and you see this here in this opening scene. But at first, you can read this first glance as it's just a character introduction. We see a person who seems to have this high order, this high standard. People's lives matter, and all this other stuff. That, like, he's the judge of things, but then he has a friendlier aspect to him with how he treats Josh, where he says every life kind of matters. I believe it. What people can do with things is great. And I think this was the best character introduction I've done.
Yeah, listen well, and my tongue shall tell.
The lines which Avi and me interchange here during the sequence is actually from a Hindu legend. And it's actually much more a reference. Yama isn't in it, but there was a different Hindu god which I considered instead of Yama, and I thought it was a nice, decent reference. But the lines kind of match with Yama's, secret code type thing.
The cow. Get it before someone else.
This scene, something that I really like to look it through and notice is how of course, the flashback thing, where it just quickly flashes to things so you understand the context of that.
Then there was someone
But
with
then
a sword. Never
you can see
placed
like
any
change of
bets.
focus, change of depth of
Completely
field and all that
silent.
in a shot where
You
it's
had to have
helping
saw it, see
move
the
the
count
audience
start.
over. And that was because this was my
took
first
out
film where I
anyone
filmed
who
with
got
an
in the
actual
way.
camera. Typically I've done it
I
with an
could've
iPhone, but this is the first one I've ever done with a
No name.
actual camera. I filmed it with a
So,
Panasonic
you're telling
G7,
me
which
we're
was
hunting
recommended to me
down
by
an
a friend who
unnamed
just
vigilante
loves photography.
With a sword?
And we really tried to utilize it. We did run into the problem where, like, this shot here, it's just me and Avi in this one room. Like, and I just set the camera, and I just kind of had to try and get the settings and make it work, to where an actual cinematographer would help a ton. Because at the end of the day, it was me setting up the camera and just having to roll with it and make it work, which really was sad. Like this shot here, Avi was quickly going. He was out of the room at that moment. I had set that shot up by myself.
More dire. This time it can now be
And really, it's where I really realized the importance of having a lot of different people manage specific things. Specific person for microphone, specific person for camera, yada yada. But I think knowing the fact that,
all the way up the justice.
like this shot here, once again, there's no one behind that camera. It was just me and Avi and a camera,
I saw
where we
potential.
set it up pretty
I
decent, and
see
we,
what life can be.
considering how I was still learning a camera
With the
throughout
cow in our hand, we
the
can
production of
reveal
this, I think it
change.
turned out pretty decent.
Not by lengthy wars, but with the strike of a hand. Your mission.
The
should you
classic
choose to
"your
accept
mission
it,
should you choose to
is
accept it"
retrieve the
line
cow and bring it to me. I
was meant
promise
to
I'll
once
use it
again
for the
bring in
good
that
of the
familiar
world.
thing, but I kind of wanted to use it in a way that disarms the audience to where they think of Chief Justice Cal as a friendlier character, a character you get behind. He's the mission giver. He's the one you trust, who gives you the goal of where you go.
I'll bring you the cow.
Of course, the classic Nerf gun. I mean, this is literally in Dead Reckoning, pretty much. He stuns him, puts mask back on, bam, title card. What I'd give for a burger and milkshake right now. This actually shot here, the background with the flames parting is one of the only VFX shots that I did that ended up being in the actual movie. That was rendered using Cinema 4D Redshift Pyro animations. Something which I really loved working on with this film was the little background details. Like that file is full of information. I mean, there's a photo of me, but then there's also, like, as Agent Josh, but then there's also, like, little details talking about a lot of different things. And that's just a fun little detail. I have that file actually sitting here on my desk next to me. It's really fun. This scene reintroduces C, I, and A from A Very Yevgeny Christmas. And at this time, I wanted to really think about how much time has passed. A Very Yevgeny Christmas takes place years. I put the number 5 years before Mission Impossible in my head. Like, that was the idea. And that's kind of where I went, where time has passed. And a little neat character detail that I like is that Mooey changed his name from A, agency, to Mooey, because he has free will. But at the end of the day, the CIA are friends, and Mooey kind of inspires them to kind of have better names. And that more so stemmed from the fact that a lot of people, when I watched A Very Yevgeny Christmas for a movie Monday at school, people were kind of confused who was C, I, and A, because it like, C, go do this. It came a bit too fast.
Where to next? We have no leads.
And so that's why they have the name Sarah, Irving, and Mooey, but it's also in advance of their characters. And the CIA subplot really is just meant to kind of lead into Josh. It's meant to answer questions, kind of in a way to where I didn't expect people to 100% remember everything from the first movie. And I wanted to give a bit of a mystery or like a chase to follow that photo of Brockton and me as Agent Josh and Agent Kevin. That was actually from junior prom. I just cropped out everyone else. We were just right outside the building.
Why, hello. Welcome to the Academy. Are you here to check out a student?
It's the Lillian Fisher cameo,
Awesome. Well,
where she returns as the desk lady. The fun thing about this is that there's a lot of jokes from the previous film which kind of follow in. I mean, in the previous movie, she was the desk lady of every single place, of the archive, of the front desk, of all that, and I wanted to bring that back in for this little cameo. And the film is filled with these little cameos of just people we knew at school, just do fun little things.
Just to make sure it's you.
Something which I wanted to really focus on was the drama. Have things be dramatic. Like, there's someone that goes, that makes the characters, oh, in the wrong, and like, things are going to go bad, things are going to go right. This scene right here with the hand scan is one of it. Where it's meant to be this little thing of where, okay, like, he's getting scanned in, they're going to know it's him, but they don't know it's him. So you ask, what's going on? Leads you into Yevgeny, who is out in the truck, with his computer being Yevgeny.
Chill, bro. It was the best explanation I could come up with for checking him out of the academy. I mean, it worked.
And this scene here with all this stuff is where this film is not as much of a comedy as any of the previous stuff I made. Even Frankenstein in College, which was a kind of more of a thriller movie, I think it had more comedy than this. And I regard that because I didn't build Mission Impossible Cowabunga to be a comedy, more in the way of where it's entertaining. Like you see here, it's a push-up training class. You see the background details on the board. FBI push-up training class. And Kevin is the only one signed up. Like, can I do sit-ups? Like, that's a joke. But all this stuff is meant to be more in the way where it's entertaining. It's fun to watch. Because personally, I find non-stop comedies to genuinely be unfunny. I want to make something where you watch it and go, this is just fun to watch. I mean, this shot right here, Cade is standing on top of a chair to stand above Brock, even though Brockton's so tall. And then the build-up conclusion of the joke of, Josh being disguised as Kevin's dad for the scene, where it's that little, like, entertainment value. Like Brockton squatting in this scene for this.
Hi, son.
Don't you have someone go?
This was, like, the most uncomfortable scene to film.
Dentist appointment. Come on.
Yep, we got a big cavity.
This scene here with these guys was very difficult to film. Because this was something where we were supposed to film this at a place. We had a designated location within the first 3 weeks of filming. And then we got to a day before production when everything's set in stone. And then the place reached out saying, we're sorry, we put you on the wrong calendar. We can't fit you in at all.
Saving the last calendar.
No.
And this was right before spring break. And I said, well, if we just go for spring break, because the place was a school. but then they just never responded, and then like 3 weeks later came back to me saying they can't fit us in until the rest of the year. And so this scene, which is supposed to be filmed within the first 2-3 weeks of production, was filmed 3 days after graduation. To where that was the difficult part with this film's production, where I really, I under-expected how long it would take in some aspects. Even though I planned it out, things go south always. Always plan on it. So like we actually, I think we had school, like we graduated a week before school went out, like for everyone else. We finished filming as well, I think like a day after school went out for the summer. So we didn't actually have a full movie showing at school, but we did show the first 30 minutes, but that makes sense because we can't fit the whole movie in one place. But you can see how many times we jump locations with filming here, because this here is not at this outside scene was filmed a few weeks before the scene of the inside with me with Josh and Kevin. It's really kind of funny because I've never had a production this big where I had to split scenes like this. Of course, everything that movie does is kind of improvised.
Hello, this is Sarah, CIA lead. What's going on?
This is following up on the mission thing. There was a moment in the production where this was so hard to like get done and down, to where like we ended up just settling down. We're just gonna do this on a Tuesday morning, and that's how we filmed it, the inside portion. And all we had was Cade, me, and Brockton.
Everything was classified to a high level.
But I wanted to have this scene in because although it doesn't reveal a whole lot, it showcases a lot with Agent Josh's character, settles you in a bit more with him. But I do notice the problem as I'm watching it where Josh comes off more as kind of just like an object. Well, not an object, that sounds weird. As more of like a plot, an object of the plot than a character. But that's kind of what I was hoping for, where I wanted someone that was a bit more Ethan Hunt, where he's the good guy you want to see win, but you kind of question him every now and then. But that was also an issue where I still need to learn more on filmmaking and analysis, to where it was relatively after production when I rewatched the Mission Impossible movies, I noticed in the more recent ones that they do make Ethan Hunt more of a character. And that was something where you always learn, and you always do more. To where, honestly, if I were to go back, I would actually go with the original film plot idea I had for Cowabunga, where Josh would have had more of the arc, and instead of it, because originally it was going to be given to Richard Bad Guy for this version of the movie, but then there was a whole production thing with that. Those donuts which Brockton brings out, this was the last shot we filmed that day, and I bought donuts for everyone, because I buy snacks for my crew. Brockton wanted to have him in the scene because he loved them. And you can actually see here where he has a broken arm. Like every other scene, he's going to have a broken arm. And he made a comment about the fact that, what's with your broken arm? I'll have to wear it every other scene. It's one of the only fourth wall breaks in the entire movie. And it was just because we were filming, and then Brockton got into a skateboarding accident, and it was kind of funny. Right, here is where we have more of an interrogation scene of sorts. Where we have the Department of Defense coming in, who wants to be very antagonistic of Chief Justice Cal. He knows something's going on. He's fishing for some sort of response. And initially, we're thinking that Chief Justice Cal is just kind of deflecting things, when it turns out Chief Justice Cal is misleading in his own direction. Where he's not really playing dumb. You can actually find if you can see me in the camera and the reflection of the sunglasses for like a second there.
I don't understand why you came to me.
You pardon him. You're the only one.
This film also had color grading for the first time ever. Had actual color grading. And so this is more blue. Whenever there's something with Yama, it typically tends to be more blue.
I pardon him because he's a hard-working American citizen.
Where he leans in and it focuses in on him.
I don't believe anybody should get a consequence.
When he leans in and the focus changes, that there is actually a moment where the Yama side kind of comes out a little. Where the consequence, like I decide the consequences. That is foreshadowing for what his real intentions are. But instead, he leans back and then he turns back to Cal. And he's instead kind of buttering up the Department of Defense. And he kind of makes the Department of Defense think that Chief Justice Cal's arm's being twisted behind his back. Being forced to do things, not the other way around. And so that's where you think it's an initial, just like he's buying time, when really he's just forwarding his own goals.
Yes, I formed my team.
My hair strand, I don't know what was up with my hair that day to where it was like poking up like that. It was kind of weird.
You were getting Kevin on board. Any other old friends?
I also have Yevgeny.
There wasn't a lot of scenes for Josh and Cal to interact, but I wanted to have a scene where we get a moment where you can feel there's a warmth between Cal and Josh.
I'll have your documents removed with a
Now, of course, we have a curse to where, with our new equipment, we got a boom mic, which captures a lot of surround audio. So there's a lot of times where, like, the surround audio is really muffled. Like, this here in the pizza joint, it seems pretty bad. Like, it seems rough. But then there's other times where it's so bad I have to use a noise reduction, because it's the only way you can hear them. And so I can point out the scenes where it did have noise reduction, and it's kind of sad that that's what ended up happening there. Here I wanted to kind of make it feel a bit more like a ooh with Kevin and Yevgeny, where it's this it's where you think these three are thrown in like they don't want to. But I really wanted to have a friendship between these guys be formed. I want these guys to be seen as the trio. So that's where the food scene, which, fun fact, like, we had just gotten done with a long day of school, and we're like, we're going to go film the scene at the local pizza joint. And we're just going to film us eating. And the amount of people who looked at us going, what are you doing? I mean, like, of course we called ahead, and, like, the place gave us permission. We actually jumped around a ton trying to find a place that let us do this. Because a lot of them made me actually go through their place's marketing teams. And a lot of them never really got back to me. And, like, it makes sense. I'm a high schooler filming a movie. It's like the thing where the pizza, like, the cheese falls off the pizza is, like, not, that was, like, that just happened. And just a scene where they're all, like, just sitting, eating pizza. It's not as friendly as I was hoping. But it's meant to be this moment where you feel like they're connected.
Let's focus in. Tomorrow morning is the auction, where the cow is expected to be an item on the venue.
But like this shot change where it's now doing that, that's because people came up to the table, like came into the table right behind us as we were finishing. And so we had to change the angle because, you know, we don't want to have people who don't want to be in the movie, like, you know, be in the movie. So you can see it like we crop things out and all this. I really wanted these guys to be seen as the trio, like the characters. This is the set in stone group that you should trust, that you know, like, these are the fellas. And this here is a scene where, you know, it jumps right in. It's serious, and then, you know, I come in wearing a gingerbread man suit.
I see you. Was your
More playful banter between these characters to make them seem, you know, we're like, we're friends type thing.
Oh my gosh, what are you wearing?
That suit I wore to the very Yevgeny Christmas premiere, which was, I think, like December 21st. Like a few days. It was right before Christmas. And after a very Yevgeny Christmas was done, I had immediately started working on Moosion Impossible Cowabunga. I started thinking of what I wanted. And that's when I actually wanted, I had just bought that suit, and I was thinking, you know, it'd be funny if I wore it for Cowabunga, for a auction scene.
You're just gonna have to make it work, dude.
And because, so there's two auction scenes in this movie, where there's this one, and then there's the one that started the movie, the black market auction one, and this one. And in order to make them feel weird, I wanted to have them be a bit more different. The first one's more of a rising tension action. This one's more like there's a plan, but things go wrong. Ultimately, this auction part is just like the prelude to the actual action sequence, which is me and Kasten tied up.
All purchases within the next 24 hours will just
And this monologue is me trying to, like, bring reason to things, where, like, that is like, Josh and Kevin and Yevgeny are on track to get this right. They're good. They got it settled in. You said this. They're definitely going to get this. What could possibly go wrong? That's how you kind of make something that's a bit more dramatic. You want to have something that's like, ooh, anything could go wrong. Of course, there's Joy walking in the background. Bowler hat guy. This, like, sequence was really catastrophic. So, like, we had to reserve the forum ahead of time, as you'd expect. We set it up all beforehand. But then we ran into a problem where on the way to filming, like, I got into a car accident, which is pretty freaking funny. It was a whole situation where, hey, like, there was a lot of crazy stories that happened while filming. I mean, I got into a car accident, Brockton broke his arm, Kasten passed out. I mean, what else could go wrong, right?
What I want to know is once we get the cow,
Bit of monologue. I wanted to have that kind of settles in the whole, a bit of a question that gives a question to the audience, like, why does just Leonardo DiCaprio have the powers? Like, what's the explanation for that? Why is it just Leo, or is there other cows with these types of powers? I really wanted to settle on that question so it can be answered, because there's a reason for it. I wanted to kind of explain a lot of what happened in the first movie, because the first movie ran into more of the problem where, like, when there was the wonderful Leo powers, that was a whole, that was just like, hey, that would be a funny joke type thing. And I really wanted to depart from that, have my own type of, story that, was tied together, that made sense. That's what I was going for with why it's explained.
I'll keep my distance. You have any help, anything you can.
You can actually, the reason why there's the clear noise reduction, thing going on with this scene right here, and that is because this scene was, the air conditioning in that place was so loud, and I could not get it turned off. Hold up, I'm just plugging in the, there we go, so my, iPad, the recording device doesn't die.
I mean, if I was lonely and my only friend
With this scene that's setting up Richard Bad Guy's reveal here, I didn't want to show his face, because you're getting this idea that Richard Bad Guy is this rich, he's this pristine guy. In the last movie, we saw him, he had short hair, he had more of a clean outfit, and then we see him here where he has longer hair, more rugged, where it's meant to showcase this, fall of a character, where time has passed for him, where he's not the character we think he is, or used to be, really. And this, him looking at the painting thing, is meant to kind of him be looking at the rich life that he's lost. And so Richard Bad Guy really was kind of a character. Honestly, Richard Bad Guy, I wanted him to be more of an emotional pull. He ultimately replaced Agent Josh, and that was more because I didn't think I could play much of an emotional character, or a character people can connect with. I mean, that's why Agent Josh acts more like a plot pusher, while Richard Bad Guy is... Agent Josh is a plot pusher, while Richard Bad Guy is more of a character who the audience kind of can see themselves in. He lost something, he wants to bring it back. It brings back the thing where they want to see success. And that's what's hoping with Richard Bad Guy. Here we have the scene with Big Papa, where there was actually multiple scenes of Big Papa planned for the movie, but none of them could. None of them really happened, except this one, where I could only get a Big Papa in the form of voice, and that was because Brandon was very busy with wrapping up the school year, which really everyone was. I don't blame him. And it kind of showcases a part of Big Papa's thing where actually because this was an audio recording, I could just cut and change some lines and reorder them. Where actually this scene here with Big Papa is meant to be more of an interrogation of Richard Bad Guy, putting him down, making him feel bad. And really, because Big Papa is meant to be a bad influence for Richard Bad Guy as a character, where he's a person who's telling him he doesn't belong as part of the bad guys, because Richard Bad Guy sees his family as, at the end of the movie, Moosion Impossible, good influence. That was kind of the idea I was going for. There's a lot more expansions to it, specifically with Cisco as a character. And we're because of it was hard to get Big Papa. It was hard to get the scenes because he was very important. So the Cisco scenes couldn't really happen either, which is kind of sad.
There's someone here. He must be here.
Yeah, I'm such a great actor, right? I'm so good. No, I'm terrible.
Who's here? I saw him.
I wanted to take some time to be a director behind the camera with the previous two movies, and I thought, hey, I can maybe bring it back. I can be a good, I can maybe be a decent actor. No, there's a reason I don't do it anymore.
Affirmative.
And so we had that whole 8-minute sequence within the auction, where it's just setting all this up just for this whole thing of okay, we got to beat Richard Bad Guy. If Richard Bad Guy tries to steal the cow, we'll stop him. If Richard Bad Guy tries to buy the cow, we'll stop him. So you still feel that there's a sense of control to the situation. Once again, that's the juggling thing. Richard Bad Guy, things can go wrong. Of course, we're coming up with another cameo where we have the incredible Cap, our school security officer, who gets tasered. It's still funny that he actually agreed to do this. Still funny that the door didn't it just doesn't close. And so a funny thing when we're filming this is a back room in one of our school buildings. And filming in there was pretty funny because those 2 doors lead to classrooms. And both classrooms had teachers teaching in them at that moment. Like it was after school stuff with like some students, but it was after school tutoring, etc., etc. So we had to make sure we didn't, be loud. And there were times when like Kasten bonked his head. And you can see right where like the audio goes quiet is because you could actually hear laughing from the other room in the teacher's like classroom. I didn't catch that when we were filming there, but the boom mic did. The emotional reassurance, he found him. Like, he might have found the cow. So exciting, right? It's shaky. He's so ready to, like, that box, like, a person cannot possibly fit in there, right?
Hey.
In the original version of this film's script, Bowler Hat Guy was actually meant to just come out of a shadow. But when I was talking with Joy, who plays Bowler Hat Guy, Joy sent me, like,
Hello, Richard.
what was it? Has-been hotel gif.
Meet the person who destroyed
And
my
Joy was like, I
empire.
need to have a really dramatic entrance like this. And so I came up with the box idea.
At all.
And it was really funny because if Joy was like crouched up, Joy could fit in the box. Of course, capitalist scum is what Yevgeny says here. There's a lot of little reference, like a lot of little Russian sayings which Yevgeny says throughout the film like that because it's him being him. He learned Russian and he applied it to the film. And like the whole auction's now empty. It's meant to be, oh, this all was a trap. The dramatic music. I think it kind of adds to it because it's generic stock music. The shot of Yevgeny running is probably one of my favorite shots I've ever done because it's so goofy. Me running, there were so many shots where I was supposed to be full on running and like, the camera can't keep up. Josh has been captured. It all was a trap from the start.
The rogue agent and the
So we filmed the scene over at Madison Venue in Ogden City. And it was pretty funny getting to work on this because while we were filming, like the building is still open to other people. We didn't have the whole building reserved for us. It was like, yeah, we'll be in this room at this time. But like other people coming in because a lot of businesses also are housed in there. So there'd be this person coming in to like go to like we were filming out in the hallway outside of this room, and there was a guy in like a business suit and tie who came up the stairs and had to walk past us just as we're filming and like, just mind your own business.
So I won't be having steak dinner tonight.
A fun dynamic with this scene is where it's Agent Josh and it's Richard Bad Guy tied together. Agent Josh is like, oh crap, I'm with Richard Bad Guy. He immediately knew it, but Richard Bad Guy doesn't know it's Josh. So Josh wants to kind of keep it a surprise that, hey, it's him. Like, putting the issue off right now, just for the time being, not resolving it, which is kind of Josh's character. And then Richard Bad Guy, has his own thing. He's just focused on getting the cow. So he's not thinking entirely with the mindset of, oh, I'm tied to this random guy. I can't see him. I'm just like, hey, he might be an ally. But actually, originally, Josh and Richard are supposed to figure out it was each other, like mutually, early on in the scene. But it kind of removed a really fun dynamic.
I'm gonna find both of them.
Because then we get this scene where Kasten gets to go all out with like, I'm evil, I'll kill them, I'll nerf them type thing.
Both. Isn't it just Bowler Hat Guy?
Yeah.
So we get this like fun dynamic of the two where it's like, oh, this FBI agent, he's gonna pay. And then Agent Josh's like, sounds like a really bad guy, right?
The one thing I loved. Oh, I'll get it.
Sheesh, those sound like terrible people.
Yeah, he is. You sound familiar. Who are you?
Could be. I don't know you. My name's Agent.
AJ
Nice
is
to
in
meet
short for Agent Josh,
AJ, what were you doing at the auction?
Nothing bad, just your typical.
The Josh playing it kind of dumb here.
Wonder what kind of auction stuff would lead you to be.
It's just really weird.
Wait, we did something bad? I thought this was the waiting room.
Of course, I have the scene where it's bringing it back together, reminding the audience of Yama. Yama is like, the audience is reminded that this character exists. The whole he is here. And then, boom, he's in this scene.
Josh and Richard are in
And it's meant to kind of show this like interesting dynamic to where Bowler Hat Guy is this like loud character who's kind of more controlling, and then you see Bowler Hat Guy here who's now kind of more skittish. I think in the screenplay I wrote the words "like a puppy," sort of like on a leash. And so that's kind of what it's kind of the idea with it, where you're now thinking, so there's something going on here. I mean, you kind of assume Yama is in charge of Joy, you know, Bowler Hat Guy. You can actually see in the corner of the left frame that Leonardo DiCaprio is sitting there. And that's another issue where, with me not being behind the camera, as much as I love all my cast and crew, it's something to where they all didn't understand cameras, and I can't blame them. Like, even notice that the depth of field is a little off. But it's all learning progress, and I'm proud of everyone who did all the work, because I know they did it out of passion. They wanted to really try and make something really fun. Of course, we have the stunt with the falling to the floor. We had to lay down like pillows and blankets to make sure we didn't break anything. Of course, now we have the dynamic of this sequence, which is me and Kasten tied to each other's backs. And we have to get around, get weapons, find a way to get out.
This way, cover.
And filming in Madison Venue really was a great experience because it was such a beautiful location. I was hoping we'd actually film at at a mall nearby where they just closed a massive warehouse. And I was gonna talk to them, maybe like, hey, let me in. But then Madison Venue, I encountered it because I went to a Valentine's Day dance and we took photos there, and it was beautiful. And I figured out the contact, like, hey, it's a small little place where they like are very open to things, and just like it's very nice. And they were so nice to us, incredible people. I really wish I could have like filmed more there. They were just incredible.
Irving gave me these breadcrumbs to follow.
Breadcrumbs to follow.
Interesting.
Puts hand up to chin. Mui was supposed to be in the scene, but the handler for Mui, like who has him, she actually was sick that day, called in sick, slept in until like 30 minutes after we started. Like, where are you at? She's like, I'm sorry, I'm sick. And she offered to have someone drop off Mui from her family, but I didn't want to have to have one of her family drive all the way out to where we were filming for it. So we just had to settle with, hey, it's okay. But that's what the breadcrumbs line was. And actually, the breadcrumbs line kind of comes back later in the movie and was reused. This sequence is really, honestly, I think it's such a fun sequence.
How are we getting out
We're seeing that they now like learn to work together, be allies and such, and now they're kind of being, you know, like, we gotta work together, we gotta do this. And then like, oh, it's each other. Uh-oh. Because of this realization, uh-oh. But like that big team-up moment where Richard Bad Guy with his typical character, you know, his personality. I don't know how to describe his personality. It's just pretty much who Kasten Smith is as a person. He is literally Richard Bad Guy. It is a little funny that like we get the sound like psh, 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 but there's like nothing coming out of the guns. Of course, a quick little thing where we get a difference with the characters here, where it's an agent coming here to stop them. Agent Josh hesitates. He's a bit worried. Richard Bad Guy tries to, you know, bring out his weapon to, you know, attack. He's thinking it's just an opponent, but Josh recognizes that's an agent. And, you know, he has a baseline thing of, like, bad guys, nerf them. Good guys, keep them alive. So that's that character difference there. He tries to stop them, but that's what makes Anna think something is up.
Where is he?
Josh might not be the bad guy we think he is.
Get in!
Of course, we have the truck drive scene where I gave the keys to my truck and went, okay, buddy, your time to shine. And this is real banter. I'm like, Kasten, move your legs. I gotta close the tailgate. And remember, we gotta take the ropes off. And we were just driving in circles around a parking lot for this scene. It's actually kind of funny when you realize we're just going in circles. So just right turn, right turn, right turn. And this epic build-up where it's, oh, this guy's really good. He's pretty cool. And, oh, it's the guy I want to, like, you know, destroy.
Because I swore that the next time I would.
And there was actually a cut scene,
Maybe let's calm down a little.
cut line in this where actually Kasten, when we film with Kasten, he kind of just pulls out a random line out of the air and says, I think this would be funny to say as we're filming. And he just goes, I should have Gabe kill you where you stand. Like, whoa! We can't say that. And so we have these two characters here who, like, just don't really get along here. Richard Bad Guy's like, oh, he's thinking. But Agent Josh thinks, hey, if I can, you know, bring the cow, like, you know, get the cow back, you know, have the one guy who I really hurt really bad forgive me, I'd feel better about myself. That was the mindset that I had with Josh with this scene here. Because that's ultimately what drives him. He wants to prove to himself that he has changed, but he just can't. And so he teams up with his enemy. This scene here with them on the bench was probably the biggest scene that had to change right before filming. To where this was meant to be a scene where the CIA actually encounter Chief Justice Cal. But nonetheless, we're getting these characters here. They're coming together. They're really starting to move forward on this conspiracy about some sort of evil villain thing.
It's kind of a ghost case.
But I gotta say, this scene here is probably one of my favorites, just because it visually looks pretty nice. Specifically here, these shots of Irving, because it's. Hold up, like let's just get to it again and like bask in his glory. Oh, it's so good. I love it. Like even like the little lens glare and everything. It's quite nice. But then, you know, it's... I love breadcrumbs. That was a line that was supposed to be early in the movie that we just brought back. And that's because we actually... This is a scene where I had to rewrite it as we were filming it, which I did not like having to do that. But notice how, like, with Toby, it was same backdrop, same color and everything, but then for Anna, it goes from yellow to blue to windy. The sunset scene, this one was actually really funny to film, because although it was spring, it was freezing cold. I think it got to like 40 degrees when we were out there and filming.
Bowler hat guy has the cow now.
Of course, the slow acoustic music.
I mean, it's kind of a bummer that we gotta deal with Richard now.
Yeah,
I want to have this moment where Agent Josh Ritter reaches out to Kevin and Yevgeny, kind of his friends, asking for advice.
I just want to fix what I've done.
And actually, you can see throughout the color grading of this scene here with the sunset, it gets like bluer as the sun sets.
You don't have to like each other, you just gotta work together.
Don't have to like each other, you just gotta work together. Yes, that's from a Godzilla movie. And this scene here with the sunset, it's meant to be this whole thing where he feels he has failed again.
So you two were going to team
because, you know, he said he'd get Chief Justice Cal, the cow, by sunset, but he doesn't have it. So he feels this immense dread.
The plan is to use him.
Where he has this moment of sadness. And this is another moment of character Josh, where he feels this thing where he should give up, where he's been defeated. But he'll just keep going. He hatches a new plan. He keeps going. Because that's the lesson which I want Agent Josh to give. Where it's never give up. Keep going for something you believe in.
Leo was the best.
We get more case and exposition with Richard Bad Guy. But this scene where it's meant to be where we have Big Papa who criticizes and beats down on Richard Bad Guy. But then we have Cisco who is meant to be more friendly, who he's like, he's happy and he's like expressing his happiness to be with Richard, but saying like, it's sad that we have to go, but I've enjoyed the time with you. And Richard Bad Guy says, maybe I can do both, which is consistent with both Richard Bad Guy and Agent Josh. We have this plot-driven character and this more emotional-driven character, where they both have that same thing of thinking they can do both. And that's what kind of ties them together.
I've been thinking of where we could go next. The auction was.
So there's this discussion between the two.
We have Bowler Hat Guy as our lead.
So we were filming this up on a overview area where, like, with the sunset, and I think it's honestly quite a good-looking scene. Because it's silhouettes with the sunset. It's quite clear. I like it. But the funny thing is we had to angle the camera a lot because this is a sunset. And apparently I discovered after we were filming, because my parents asked, what were you doing at Makeout Point? At what? So that's why there was a lot of parked cars and a lot of couples around us when we were there, who they were just willing to kind of give us space. But like,
And in order to do
so
that,
I,
you gotta
it's
break into a database and steal something.
Makeout Point. That's pretty funny, right?
An authentication file which proves that this file is legit. But
You can hear a peacock in the background. We threatened to go kill that thing and cook
And
it.
you're going through all this effort, all this trouble.
Here we have
to
where
get
Agent
an
Josh, he's
authentication code, a
expressing
fake
the mission.
authentication
He's
code
like,
to give her a
this is
fake
what we're going to
file.
do. This is how we're going to fix things. And Richard Bad Guy's more leaning back going, what are you thinking of doing? How is this going to work? Because he's examining. He's seeing how he can make Josh kind of be an asset to him, be a tool. And that's ultimately kind of what Richard Bad Guy does. He's, evil.
I have the perfect people for the job. The best mercenaries in the world. They can
Tom and Jerome
infiltrate
introduction,
any
pretty
facility,
baller.
sabotage and exit without being traced. They have better skills than the best assassins in the world. Speak 6 different languages.
I wanted to have a scene that was
They are
very
responsible for the
Indiana
fallout of
Jones and The Last Crusade. And actually, the tied together scene was inspired by Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, where Indy and his dad are like tied up to the chairs. And I went, it'd be fun if there was a scene where it's the two tied up for the whole time. And so a lot of this is kind of like, there was a lot of things. You can tell where I get my influences. Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade was one of the biggest influences for this film. The fun here with the National Archives sequence is that I wrote it and I began working on it. Well, I wrote it and had it like all pitched together, put together. But then when I was on a trip to Hawaii, the place that we're doing it with came back and said, like, oh yeah, we cannot do what you were originally thinking of. We're sorry. Which, like, once again, that's okay. I'm not going to expect everything to go through as I envision. But then you can see it runs into where the scene had to be changed while I was on a trip, and we were actually going to film the scene the day after I got back. And so I actually was rewriting the scene while on the plane and thinking through on how I could do it.
What's on this card just because I'm thinking about it. We gotta practice.
And so this is where it really came with the idea of the whole psychic connection between sisters. And it's an idea which I really wish I expanded upon, because the whole card thing was written during my rewrites the day before. This was meant to be just a generic kind of discussion scene. And I went, how can I make this just more entertaining, more fun?
That time. You did better than last time.
And so we get this whole thing with the psychic sisters, and I really wish I focused more on that dynamic for this scene, because it makes it just so much funner. Because other than that, it's just kind of like
It's a vast
library.
For most of these files, these are their only copies.
What files am I retrieving?
A collection of name files.
So this is meant to be more of a stealth scene where it's like a who get a thing without being spotted, and it's easier to do that with these characters than Agent Josh and Richard Bad Guy, because they're new characters they're newer characters of the film. Don't have like police trying to find them and masked assassins and bowler hat guys.
But if I'm here, I can override its data live as it makes its first check. The thing is, this would be.
And once again, the exposition to explain the seriousness of like, oh, guess what? Like, this is why it has to work, because plot convenience. This is actually very much like the CIA sequence in the first Mission Impossible movie, where he breaks into the vault. And that was kind of the idea I wanted to go for, something that's a bit more slower tension rising, where things have to meet up perfectly to make it work.
And remember to stay in sync.
Gotcha.
And of course, we have a Devon scene here, with Devon being the security guard.
What brings you in today?
I'm here to fix
The problem. Notice that the exit sign is blue.
Interesting. Come with me.
And the green screen, I really wanted that green screen and that to be like a completely obvious and fake.
This is our network center.
That makes it pretty funny. And actually, this scene here, you can actually see to the left, there's a window screen where there's a lot of different computers. We were going to film in there, but then, because this was at the Weber State Tracy Hall, they gave us permission to go in, like, as long as, like, we don't have any issues with people joining the, like, people who don't want to be in it. Like, as long as we just don't affect things. And we were going to be in there because they're like, okay, on, like, a Saturday morning, it's normally not busy. But there was, like, 3 people in there at a time. And so we had to go, okay, we'll just go in the room outside and act like it's, like, the connection to the server room. National Archive is also the library. And filming at the library was... Actually, we filmed at the library more often than you'd think. There's a lot of rooms in the library we utilized. course, here we're supposed to have a lot more of a, like, ooh, looking around. There's the carrot sandwich, which if you notice, if there's food in a scene, between shots, it's going to be eaten slowly but surely. You know the elevator background. I will say, the camera shake it's kind of annoying when I notice it here. Because so I am recording this, when am I recording this director's commentary? About a month after the film, I finished the film and put it online. And so I'm just kind of, I wanted to sit and rest on it. Like, I haven't actually seen the film to its entirety. Because, like, at the premiere, I was, I'm like an actor at like, their own red carpet. I don't like watching my own work. So this is actually me watching the movie for the first time fully. And technically speaking, I can't say I've seen it like 9 times because I've edited it, but not like this, to where it's kind of no longer as fresh.
Oh, it's a full system freeze.
So I'm noticing where the camera's shaking when it was not. And so we have Devin here, security guard. I want to mention this. Where Devin is, he's constantly coming in and out as a background. He's a background in like 6 scenes. It's kind of funny.
I get that we come here to consume knowledge.
This interaction scene between Chief Justice Cal and Droma was meant to be kind of like, not meant to be an interaction, more of like a bumping of shoulders. But then it became a discussion scene where we could have these like really fun, like just quick little moment where we get some sort of file to each other where it's grabbed. Droma just grabs it kind of out of convenience. And that's ultimately where a plot hole was, to where this scene was filmed early on, but then all the scenes around that file were filmed weeks and weeks later, where like the scene with the CIA at the bench with this file, that was meant to be a completely different scene. And at the time of filming this scene here, it was going to be around completely different context. So you're kind of missing a lot of the context in regards to the file. And it's really interesting seeing it here and how like, oh, that might be affecting it now. And of course, we have the perfect timing of things, like the psychic sensing. The like quick jump cut and the rock and roll soundtrack. The fake mustache, reference to the fake mustache in the original film. And so there's meant to be this, oh, it's a fun connection between the sisters who are awesome, but then you kind of like see a bit more of that dynamic where Tama is the older sister, who kind of handles a lot of the business, and like, oh, we got this mission from someone, oh, who's that? Agent Josh. Oh. There's this feeling where Tama likes Agent Josh, but Droma doesn't. So we get interaction here between Richard Bad Guy, Tom, and Droma. With this thing where, Richard Bad Guy is just really a bad guy to these guys.
I've grabbed the authentication codes, but I'd kind of like to bring something to your attention. These files, which Tom and Droma...
So the original context of the files, of the Yama files, was that was meant to be planted by Chief Justice Cal. And then it slowly became where he noticed that like there's files in regards to him as Yama in the National Archive, and he was going there to remove them himself. Of course, there's another full document which I wrote up.
Himself Yama, the Hindu god of death.
And like there's a lot of thing where it, like shows a lot, like one of my favorite pieces of that document there that holds the Yama files is that there is actually a portion which shows a timeline of his sightings, and he goes back like 70 years. And like one of the like there were tons of little details. Like one of my favorite ones is like one of the sightings he had was actually on the day that the first Mission Impossible episode like aired of the original show, and had the exact same kind of plot where he like it was involved around the. I need to pull it up, but it was involved around like the exact same plot idea and all that. Just fun little details like that.
This is why we're doing this?
You're showing the character difference. You're like, oh, we're not sure. Like now we have people who aren't necessarily friends of Josh. How would Josh keep them in? With this idea of saying, if like I know I've hurt you, if you let me prove to you that I've changed, type thing. The drive of Agent Josh as a character.
Some days I wish I could go back.
a bit of a monologue here with just saying, like, I wish I was a better person.
Things would have happened differently. After all,
And so we have that character who never wants to give up, but he still has like, that is his flaw, where he also will push it too far to where he kind of just can't forgive himself because he won't let himself forgive himself. He has to have other people forgive him. And although in the end he still does get that, ultimately he has to realize to himself that he is the hero. He is a hero.
With me now. I think so. It's
The military jacket, I love how it looks in some scenes, like here.
fix what I did wrong. With my friends.
I think it's honestly an incredible look.
Yama, Bowler Hat Guy, whatever they throw at us, we can do it together.
One more mission. One more mission. This whole idea of bringing everyone back together for one more round, one more journey, where we all team up and work together to make things work. Like, this seems like this happy moment, but then just everyone's here as a group, but then Richard Bad Guy's off on his own. And that's because he really isn't as part of the group, because he isn't there for that sake of trying to do good. He's there for his own personal interest.
Our plot. This file holds information on all competitor crime lords to Bowler Hat Guy.
Chris Brockton with the cast.
Make a deal. We get the cow.
One issue that I did notice with the camera is that it constantly, like, it auto adjusts its own things depending on light. So you can actually see how it's like, yeah, the exposure will change with shots when it's moving. Here it's meant to send in, like, oh, we have this new plan of sorts, which is like flawless. Where can it go wrong? It does go wrong, because that's just how it goes.
Eventual capture. With the cow in our hands.
When we get the cow, who's keeping
And that there's kind of the question where Josh refuses to ever give up. He kind of forces himself into a corner that's a little rough. Where it's like, well, he's getting the cow to give it to Cal, so he can be forgiven, pardoned of what he's done. But then also he promised he'd get it to Richard Bad Guy. And here there's one of the deleted scenes where it's Richard Bad Guy's now in a completely different fit. He now has the hat again. Why is that costume change? It's because that's where he's been influenced once again by Big Papa. There was supposed to be a scene of him and Big Papa where it's Richard saying, I have a chance to get the cow and to turn over Agent Josh. I can do both. Or I can do what I want to do. Have the cow and be a crime lord still. And so he dresses up because he has faith again. Really nice look. He has the hat again. He has the jacket. He has the whole fit. And that's where actually one of my favorite little details about the film is that the main characters have Hindu color theory involved with their with their characters. To where there's a festival of colors where the colors mean different things in Hinduism. And red means vanquished evil. Notice that Josh and Richard Bad Guy wear. Richard is wearing it here now because he is a vanquished evil. He really at heart is no longer evil, but he's covering it up with that jacket. Whereas he's covering it up with the Richard Bad Guy look. Agent Josh has it, but it's a bit more showing with the green jacket because he's hiding it under the veil of green, which means rebirth or like new life. Josh has rebirth. And then with Yama, it's the blue and gold, and signs of like godly. This is another one where we had terrible noise reduction, and that was because it was so loud, and the boom mic just captures audio all around. Fun little banter scene. Don't you do each other? No, of course not. We're friends now. Acquaintances. So we have Joy, where Joy has, Bowler Hat Guy has her own intentions with this film, where in this film, where Bowler Hat Guy wants to kind of pursue her own gambling like things, and that's where Bowler Hat Guy's kind of flaw comes in, to where Yama's kind of coming in the back to be like, what are you doing? But Bowler Hat Guy is going to see what she can do so she can get what she wants, because she's a puppet, but she thinks she can get out of it, with her gambling. And that's the flaw of Bowler Hat Guy. World is at stake. Ho, 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 ho. There's a lot of jokes like that, and I love them.
Once it is secured, a collapse of our world order is guaranteed. One with all the power, the rest trying to take it.
Revelation of Leo for the first time in like 45 minutes. And so we get this scene where it's the whole the last cow on Earth. This is the final push, where you think you're reaching the third act. We're really only halfway through the second.
But I'd like to add a twist.
This is where Bowler Hat goes on like, haha, showboating. I have my own idea. I can get what I want. In the end, like, you know, ha ha ha.
Knockout challenge race.
Really, this is a lot of the manipulation in regards to Bowler Hat Guy. And actually, like, the fun thing is that in A Very Yevgeny Christmas, I wrote Bowler Hat Guy to just be this really fun, exaggerative, dramatic character who you just go, man, that's a fun villain.
You have yourself a deal.
And so then when I finished making it, I was thinking it would be a one-off villain who'd just be done, and you wouldn't have to think about Bowler Hat Guy ever again. But then, when I got to making Cowabunga, I was thinking, I want a good side villain, because everyone's going to expect Yama, but then they're going to think a lot about Yama, and they'll bring them the Chief Justice Cal. I needed a red herring. And so that's where Bowler Hat Guy came in as a red herring villain, where at the end of the day, Bowler Hat Guy is just following her own intentions, where she's really just trying to manipulate everyone for her own good. Where, yeah, Bowler Hat Guy's going, grrr, like, I have the cow. Like, she wants to keep the cow for the sake of Yama, because Yama's using it as leverage on her. And also, she wants, like, what they're bargaining for her with.
I failed my driving test 23 times.
That was one of the many jokes the actress for Jeroma made that were saying, like, women are terrible drivers. That's the only one I let stay in the movie.
She's going all in.
Hank, Yevgeny, I keep on referring to him as actually, it's my fault. Yevgeny was actually going to be in as a driver in the race, but Yevgeny didn't want to drive because he's like, I don't know how I feel about being in one of these things. I feel like I'd like die. Analogies were pretty bad. This was right at the beginning of the like spring bloom.
5 against 1. Super cool, guys. The rules are simple: no biting, kicking, licking, scratching. Anything that ends in ing that is not related to racing.
Probably one of my
This is
favorite
a
lines.
Family-friendly race, you guys. If I catch any of y'all doing nothing family-friendly, you are disqualified. Winner takes all. Loser loses all. 5 laps.
And so we have this dramatic build-up with the, ooh, look, here we go. We got to the big race.
2, 1.
And the sad thing is that actually, one of the issues where I have people who weren't camera people, there were so many shots, like right here, that weren't actually going to be, that like, this is when the camera wasn't supposed to be recording. And so we flat out did not get some shots, which is pretty sad. And so this idea is this mentions, okay, it's a 6v1, or it's a 5v1. Like, we can get this to win, right? It's everyone on the same team. Let's all team up to get Yama. But Yama's, smart and kind of like break checks Brockton. Everyone else surpasses him. So Brockton's like, okay, I'll follow in last. But oh look, knockout challenge racing. Someone crosses the finish line. Last person loses, like is knocked out of the race. So that's meant to be this. Ooh, we weren't expecting that. But also this thing with the control speed, where it's meant to build tension with this fear. Oh, something could still go wrong.
Kevin has been removed from the race.
And it just where the filming for this sequence was really difficult. We had multiple cameras, GoPro, drone, and my ground camera. But it was so hard because there was just so much going on at once. To where I feel like filming this scene could have taken a whole day. When the issue is with the high school production, I can only get some people for a few select hours at a time. And so it really showcases something I strive to do more in the future, is to really give more time for big sequences like this. Because this sequence was a massive idea, but due to a lack of time, I feel I wasn't able to do it to the full intention I wanted to. But now we have to the point where it's just Yama, Josh, and Richard. And Josh's speed is kind of iffy. He's like, oh, what's going to happen? And, Yevgeny, hacks the system and goes, oh, look, the speed is messed up. You're trying to have Josh lose. It's rigged. And the reason why is because, oh, look, well, if Yama doesn't win, we're screwed. But I really want that thing for me. I'm trying to gamble here.
I thought you said this is fair game, family friendly, as you put it.
What's up with this speed?
What's up with this dude's speed?
It's actually funny, in the middle of filming this go-kart sequence, it actually started raining. And I'm glad it kind of
A lot
stopped.
depends on it, man.
This thing where, you know, that Josh and Richard go, all right, we'll box him in and we got this. Yama's removed from the race. So boom, look, we win. Like, Yama's out. Like, there's no chance Bowler Hat Guy wins. So it's like the same team, right? Nope. Richard, bad guy, is now, like, in the lead. But he's getting the count for his own reason. And you can see here we actually now have someone swap as the body for Yama. And that is because... Oh... Watching this scene is like torture for me, because there was a lot of things that went wrong with this filming, where I feel like the scene felt so, like, wasted for me. But the idea was just this, like, tense thing where every lap something new would happen. You'd get like, uh-oh, something's gonna happen.
You're not going anywhere.
Black Guy tries running. Everyone's like, nuh-uh, we're about to win. We gotta have this. Josh manages to catch up to Richard and like, alright. I'm gonna find a way to get me that cow. Realizing they're on teams, so like, oh, okay, hold up. But so the go-kart sequence, it was one of like 2 different opportunities I wanted to do. Either go-karts or laser tag. And I really wanted to tackle go-karts. I forgot how funny that looked. Hold up, we're about to get the Godzilla stop. Hold up, gotta pause everything.
That is Yama, Hindu god of death.
I love it so much.
It wasn't supposed to be this way.
Because then we get this scene where it's this whole like, well, this ain't meant to be. Yama punishes Bowler Hat Guy. The whole plot now goes on its side, where it's no longer really just about the cow. It's about this whole catastrophic thing.
That means Yama is
Chief Justice Cow.
The Chief Justice Cow is like, Yama, like, yo, everything was a plan from the start.
But the cow, but everything.
When I saw your file, I saw a man who was...
So we have the full connection here, where he believes he is the giver of consequences, the punishment. And he's not humble, truth be told. He believes that he's the only one with the right way to judge.
It's what all my past lives have been about.
And ultimately, I felt like there was a lot of great pre-writes with Yama, but then we run into the fact where, look how far we into the movie. We are an hour in. We only have about 25 minutes left of the movie, to where I can't fully explain everything, and I try to explain what I could in this portion here.
2 options lie ahead of you. Which do you care about more? The mission?
So this is where the I Can Do Both comes in for Josh, where it ties him and Richard together as pretty much the same people. He takes the knob as a way to like, okay, this will lead Josh to me as he does his final choice.
They just calm at the very least.
Okay, everyone get out. Get out of the city.
I can do both. Of course, the dramatic running sequence where it changes time of day. And the shoes that I'm wearing for this are like the typical shoes I wear. They are not running shoes. It hurt to run.
Hey guys, Vanessa, stay a little bit longer.
Don't care, let's go.
And it's meant to be this
Dude, how are you gonna drive?
heroic thing.
I can drive.
It's meant to be this dramatic sequence where it's this whole like the hero chasing the villain to finally win. And it's meant to just be it's not what it is in like Mission Impossible movies with the running sequence where it's the dramatic Tom Cruise is running. He's running there to save a person, or he's running there to go catch the bad guy. This is where it's meant to be a diversion, where I wanted to utilize once again the familiar and bring out a whole new thing where it's, truth be told, Josh is just evading what he should be doing, what he's facing, because he can't choose. He wants to be that hero, but he thinks being the hero is saving that cow or saving his friends.
Where'd he go?
Talks about the importance of priorities. Looks so goofy running. Fun fact, we were actually going to film this sequence down in Salt Lake City, and I talked with the city's film commission a lot about it, but we ran into a lot of issues with permits and stuff, so we then ended up just filming at a random parking lot and all that. But it's really funny because we found this parking lot because it's where I took my senior photos, and then I took my friend Brockton's senior photos. I'm like, yo, you want to help me film here someday? And this was actually one of the last scenes we filmed because it was so hard to get it done. And then it's concluded with the whole dramatically. He's catching the hero, but it was all planned from the start. It's meant to be this implied that Yama had the powers, like has the cow-like powers, thinking, oh, like Yama's like, oh, has these powers of his own.
Once again, you choose the mission.
And it's like this dramatic beating. His judgment has been completed.
Fake, you still went after it, leaving your friends unprotected, just like before.
He made the exact same mistake as he did in the first movie. And the cow, and it's revealed that the cow is the one who's holding Josh down with the powers. Because the cow, the whole idea is like, save the cow, get the cow. When the cow doesn't want to be saved. That I wanted to have be a bit of a plot twist of sorts with the film. And I really that's what I was going for. With this whole, everything's flipped on its head. To where saving the cow doesn't really work anymore. Because the cow doesn't want to be saved. And of course, the really cool shot of entering the elevator. The final retribution, where he sacrificed his friends one more time, and now they finally had enough of it.
One last
He
time.
couldn't bring them. He can't bring them all back together for this anymore, because they give in.
Brought us all back just to prove that he changed.
And this were a bit of the Kevin introduction. Where you can see he's meant to be kind of struggling with the thought of it. Where Kevin is in the first movie, he was the voice of reason, and in the second one, I wanted to be a bit more of a friend, like a proper friend to Josh. And so you can see he's kind of focusing on that right now, where he's being all.
What he told you all back then.
I don't know. He has to make his choice on what to do.
Sabotage the race to get that cow yourself.
What I'm saying
and
is
of course,
that in the end,
Yevgeny, being the smartest one in the room as always. I mean, he knows how to freeze time. Ba-da-ba-ba-bum. He's kind of like, hold up, Richard. You're trying to manipulate us.
The mission means more to him than anything. He's not gonna.
But honestly, Richard kind of speaks some straight facts.
Now I have to leave. Josh made sure I'll never have what matters to me.
Of course, Yama now captures Josh's friends for the important third act. Here, the color grading the scene I really like, because it's a bit blue, but also like the red on Josh's shirt is highlighted, because his evil has been expanded. It's been, scaled up, exposed.
Okay. Well then, let's get started.
And so we have the CIA who's finally coming. They finally met Josh. And they're going to write notes on things like, see what's going on here.
The Intelligence and Investigative Training Center.
And so throughout this lie detector test, it's revealing of things. But it's kind of also Josh learning how the lie detector, how to kind of use it, how to make it work.
Did you use your friend to try and get the cow?
Because so we get the thing where it's him answering the questions properly. Then the Department of Defense goes, okay, I'm going to start forcing harder questions, which make you kind of spike and go, ooh.
Not just Kevin Hale interfering with an operation which can change the.
But Josh then tries to focus in and really utilize it to try and throw the Department of Defense off his trail. Realize hey, Chief Justice Trump, but that doesn't really work. But Anna sort of thinks, but that kind of makes sense.
Well,
considering what's going on. But also the Department of Defense is kind of spitting facts.
And you've just made the future far worse for you. Chief Justice Cal won't be here to save you. He let you go because he went easy on you. And then you went around and used him for your own gain.
The mad cow disease joke, by the way, was improvised from earlier.
Leave for absence. So now tell me, where are your accomplices?
And this is actually the moment where Josh kind of figures out how to work with the polygraph test, how to make it work in his favor.
Chief Justice Cal.
Ah, so you're toying with me.
Of course, there are offenses about angry and such, but.
Trust me, Joshua Trap. I will crush you with the unbearable consequences of your actions. Okay, we're done here.
This is another scene to where the Oscar part was filmed a separate day from everything else. And I tried to do what they could to connect it. And so we get the parallels where now it jumps to Brockton. Brockton's character and everyone else are now like settling in.
There's gotta be a way out.
And this is ultimately where I think the third act kind of struggles in this film, and that's because it was impossible to get
literal reincarnated God
the actor
right
for
now.
Yama
This may not
down
be
to
a
filming
tidal wave
at all.
ride.
Like I think I only managed to get him for 4 or 5 days total.
Those are bad.
4 or 5
Fall
filmings
down.
out of the
Those were
dozens and
good.
dozens and
Rise
dozens that
up.
we did.
What in the world could possibly
It's like
happen
this scene
to
here
make
with this
God
explanation is in a
fall
place
down to
for
the grace of a
where
human?
Yama was supposed to explain it himself. But I still wanted to provoke the question and kind of go like, we can make this work. Sometimes you just have to work with things and make it work. With the CIA interjecting, going like, someone was right, so they investigate. Carries Mooey along. Josh sabotages and jumps in himself.
You're gonna need to do some explaining. Whoever you are, Cal, Yama, whatever you call
Now
yourself.
Josh is like, he's paranoid, he's scared, he's
Josh,
worried.
I'm Sarah. The guy right here, who's never seen the outside of a library, that's Irving. This elephant in the room, this is Mooey.
Hey.
We're
So we get the
CIA.
proper introduction
I'm not
between these
buying
two
it.
characters, but instead of being a friendly one,
that.
is on
You
the
don't
end
know
of a
what's
Nerf
going on
gun
either.
where Josh is
That's why we're doing
paranoid.
this. If you could
But what
trust
brings him
I'm not
forth to
trusting
come back, like,
anybody.
it's just
We
because
don't
he
want the
won't
cow.
give up.
We were tasked with bringing you in, and something about.
And it's kind of
the
where I
situation
wanted
seems
Josh to
fishy.
be a bit more
If you find us the
representative
truth,
of a
we'll let you
classic
go.
1980s
No
action
strings
hero,
attached.
who's a bit
I
more
wanna know
stale on the emotion
that this
side,
isn't part of
but
his
is smart,
We
who
know you have
has
good
some
friends
sort
with
of
you.
really good
They haven't
hero
popped up
qualities, and the
anywhere.
one I
Well,
wanted
had
Josh to
guys
have
with
was that
critical
ability to
conditions,
never
Chief
give
Justice
up,
Cal.
to never
He said
really,
it's
like,
emotional.
to always
Something
keep
isn't right.
going.
Only you
And
can help
although
us.
it kind of does undermine the fact he's defeated, he still
Your mission,
doesn't give
should you
up.
choose to
And then you
accept
see
it.
here the line with the "your
Save
mission
your
should you choose to accept it" line again, is to infer that same mission giving again, but now it's friendly, or it's no longer give me the cow, personal gain. It's now save your friends, where you know he's being helped. Of course, the incredible Mooey
Chief
snacks.
Justice Cal's vacation home is up here, in the highlands of the Rocky Mountains.
You believe me?
Enough for this. We've been suspecting a rat. Chief Justice Cal might be.
Of course,
a
the
rat.
snacks. We were all
The
hungry
DoD,
that
rest
time.
military,
We were
Chief
just
Justice
happened to be
Cal's
filming in a
police
basement with a vending machine.
all believe in a
And so we
hierarchy of
legit
power
bought a
and
lot
order.
of snacks and just
Follow things exactly
ate
as
and
described,
did the
so they
shots.
can get exactly what they want. We serve others to help others.
And so this is where
What
Anna,
you
like the
know.
more professional,
To be a hero.
the more professional hero, kind of gives
We're just
advice
dropping
to
by, right outside his location.
Like this.
where Anna sort of
He does
gives.
that
Oh my gosh,
You just kind of
Sarah sort of gives off more of
You can
the
save your friends, do whatever. But there's a scheme
where
going
Sarah
on
gives
with
off
Chief
how to be
Justice
like
Cal.
the professional advice on what makes a hero, where
He's
Josh
not.
still has to learn that, where he's a younger FBI agent when Sarah's been
Doesn't
CIA
call
for
himself
forever, as the CIA lead.
He is it.
It is a lot to ask.
And so we get this intent, like more of this
I
exposition
can do
scene
it.
where
I need
it's
to make a change.
Yama is the
I can
Hindu
do
god
this.
of death. We're facing something that we can't
This is the end of the road.
do
Time
before.
to make a difference.
So Josh somehow just has the unwavering ability to keep going. Of course, Mooey's just floating, god powers.
What for?
For never giving up. That's what gives you the potential
Is
to
that
be a hero.
now you
No
never
matter
give
what,
up
you'll
thing?
never stop until
Where's
you
that
do it.
reassurance for Josh? But it's because I wanted to remind the audience about
Everything was
the fact
his
that
plan.
you always
Go
want to
bowler
keep
hat guy free from
stay
jail,
strong.
Sent me on an endless goose chase to go find the cow. And now seeks to judge my friends the exact same way he has me. He told me. I
And
didn't
yeah,
know
the jump
what mattered
cut's
more
not
to
the
me,
best,
whether my
not the
friends
best.
or the mission. But now
I do know a down.
I choose my friends.
I do note a kind of a bit of a downgrade in some aspects, specifically editing. I've had a lot of people tell me the editing in this movie is the best they've seen of mine, when I disagree, and it's because little moments like that, where so many just little things that of course I'm noticing just because I'm annoying. This might be the heroic coming back of like Return, where the hope is lost, and suiting up scene with dramatic music. And so Josh's outfit for the finale part of this movie is meant to be, green. He has that rebirth, but now it's no longer vanquished evil. The light is pureness, where he's now inspired to really do good. And that's what the scene's meant to be. And this here is the last scene that we could get Yama for. this quick little scene that we filmed at the farm.
Guess who's back?
And it's just a little set-in of Yama's plan, where it's meant to be Yama was going to... He knew Leo was going to come, so he was going to utilize his final big piece of backup, which was going to have Leonardo DiCaprio be used as bait for Josh, as he knows Leo would attack Josh. And he was hoping that Leo would kind of either, like, stall Josh or kill him. That was the idea with that, and he wasn't expecting the fact that Josh and Leo would team up. And then, of course, we have another one of our great cameos from just some people we know at school. We got these two twins who are just awesome and really fun.
You didn't say over.
And I told them, like, dress up like your guards at a gate. And so they dressed really fancy.
I'm not the one with the gun.
And this is that is a model gun that one of the guys brought. We arrived on set, he's like, I have this here. I'm like, we can make this work. And film this just up on a hiking trail during an emptier part of the day when no one was there at the trail.
But we still can't live
It was fun. Like, we actually filmed this right before we went to graduation practice.
We hold a strict policy here.
And that's how, like, close we were to, like, the end of the year. It was kind of scary, honestly.
Why would I poison my own water?
To where, like, we were chuckling. We're like, oh, we had, like, senior sunset.
Here you go.
And then right after that, all right, guys, sun's down. Rise and grind. Back to
There's
work.
a rat problem in the castle. Yeah, we're not in the castle.
And the little line about the castle
Right,
is really funny because it implies Yama has a
Not even
castle.
inside the property. That'd just be murder.
And this is another one times where I built up a kind of a slow build-up joke that's meant to be more fun, where, you know, takes the walkie-talkie, replaces it with a banana.
Yeah, where, buddy? I don't know, but I think he's dangerous. Yeah, seeing someone hardly constitutes as a threat. No, man, look at him. He's wearing aviators. Yeah, okay, Tom. Yeah, okay. Any bad guy?
Bad guy from Tom Cruise.
My point exactly. Watchtower, this is...
What the?
We don't have the
We don't have the
budget
budget for real bullets. And of course, the scene where it's Josh and Leo confronting each other. Where this is meant to be a lot more of a... kind of more impactful, to where this is where we had a massive production throw up during the third act. Which, it's kind of sad that it happened, because I actually feel I wrote a genuinely kind of nice third act, but it was all thrown around. This is meant to be this whole confrontation where it's Leo going like, grr, I'm always attack you. But Josh admits that he's sorry. He finally says it to the cow, the person he's hurt.
But I'm not here for you.
Because he's had this avoidance for it.
I'm here for my friends.
The one big person he's hurt, and he's finally confronting it and saying
I can tell
that he's sorry.
You lost yours too.
And he wants to help him, not have the cow help Josh. Josh wanted to help the cow. And so that was the idea with what brings them together. And from there, what was originally going to happen was that, you know, Leo would have come over, and they would have been like, we'll find him together. And there would have actually been a fight scene with Leo on Josh's arm.
Hi, guys.
That ended up being moved a little bit. So that's why it jumps immediately to it. There's meant to be a scene right outside the barn where there's a fight.
Where's Richard?
Yama took him.
This whole thing where it's like this whole epic thing. They come in and, oh, well, these fellas don't feel good about the idea.
No.
And then
Well,
Josh
fine,
has
I
to
can't
accept
keep
that
dragging you guys through
he
everything
shouldn't
that I do.
have to drag these fellas into more of what he does. He should let them go and just be free. He
Take the
doesn't
westward
need
gate. It'll
them
be
to
the
forgive
fastest way out for you
himself.
guys.
Where
You got him?
sometimes all you need is your own approval for
I'm sorry. I truly am.
being sorry. So yeah, they head off, and they go to get Richard Bad Guy. And so that was the idea with it, where... So that was the idea with it, where we're, okay, we're going to go help the one person that I don't like too much, who I wanted to really use for my own gain of, like, being able to forgive myself. I'm going to go save him for the cow. And so this scene is actually kind of what happened to the original scene that was going to happen, where the Josh versus a guard was moved to here. I heard B. Improvised line. The song that's playing right now is made by Soul Tribute, a band over at Northridge Learning Center. I worked with one of the guitarists, and I said, yo, would you guys like to make a song for the movie? So that was the idea that went into it. And so this fight scene we have here was actually filmed in real time with 3 different cameras. We have the one that's in the grass, the one that's on the ground right here, and then we have a drone camera. And so it's all choreographed and all that to this scene. And it was kind of like, well, what we were originally going to film in this was a sword fight, which you can see that's why we had the swords, between Richard Bad Guy and Yama. And Brockton, who's playing the guard there, was supposed to play Yama. And then Richard Bad Guy, Kasten, last minute called in sick. And so we had to go like, okay, well, dang. We're just going to have to go with the other scene we had in mind and just make it work. And so we filmed this action scene. And it works because it's something where Josh is like ultimate, the big hero moment. But we don't get the emotional climax of the sword fight, where I think the sword fight between Richard Bad Guy and Yama was going to be the emotional climax. But we get the fun one that I think is very fitting considering how Cowabunga ended up being, which is more of a fun movie with little wholesome moments and instead of this emotional, dramatic, really long sword fight. So we had a sweet moment here where that's me in the thing because Richard Bad Guy was sick, and then boom, dramatic cut because once again we were missing scenes.
Alright, we're genius.
The thing where Richard Bad Guy puts Leo down real quick is they're quickly trying to find what's going on here. And the context of this was that after Josh there's so much stuff that happened with this third act. There's been this whole thing, there's got to be something here we got to find. He's hiding something here, and oh look, it's the cows. Leonardo leads him to the cows. And it was actually funny filming with these 2 cows, because these 2 cows here are actually really scared of everything. So it was very hard to get them to actually be in frame or stay where they needed to be, and we needed to be on the other side of the field so we don't scare them away. Holy cow.
What is this?
You can see where it started to
This
get
is
dark.
what
We had to
Yama
pull
had
out
this
our
whole time?
artificial lighting.
He had all these cows. I thought Leo was the last one.
And this is the explanation that ties the
Cows
whole
are
kind of film and all that
higher
and the
up on
previous one back together, where
reincarnation cycle, holier beings,
the
when
cow crisis was caused by Yama,
has
and it's
fallen
tying
down,
to
he's
Hindu
now
mythology,
human.
where cows are higher up on the reincarnation
so
cycle. They're
Yama
holier
created the
beings,
cow
and that's why they
crisis?
have these powers.
And he brought all the cows here to judge
So he's,
them.
Yama's
because he
judging
was
cows, and that's where the
jealous?
problem with Yama is. He's judging out of jealousy and instead of
We'll save him, Leo.
out of
I got an idea.
kindness, per se. John said this thing where you shouldn't judge people off a pedestal. That was kind of the idea with it.
Come on, cows, that way. Go.
This whole dramatic, like, cows, move. We gotta get you moving. We gotta save you. Bombs
Hear
begin
that?
going off because Yama's like, gotta destroy the cows.
Get out of there!
So Josh runs and, dramatic. And then we want this moment where Kevin's character comes in a little, where he ultimately is still a good guy, a good friend. And it's where he wants to go back and help
What? Why do we stop?
Josh, not because,
gonna leave him.
not out of repayment. You
He came back
shouldn't
to
go to
save us.
people
I
for a
think he realized
repayment. You
something.
should go to
He
them
needs our help.
because you're their friend. And that's kind of what I want to do and force, sustain with that idea, with Kevin here.
No, because he's my friend.
You do things out of the goodness of your heart, just for the sake of being kind. And dramatic turn and drive away. And then the scene of the film where the VFX was supposed to really kick in, but then guess what? Too many issues. To what ended up just being Yama as giant green screen bull, who just kind of shows up. The white screen in the background. So this is ultimately where kind of an emotional climax is meant to be. Where it's Yama coming back, where he did manage to get Avi to do some audio recordings. It's meant to be the scene where it's Yama bringing Josh into this like kind of mindscape, where it's kind of the emotional bringing together of everything, where you mess up and
you will always be this way.
You fail, and it's kind of like the internal voice in your head that goes like, you can't do this, you can't be a hero.
Stand
But then what you need to really get up and moving is a friend.
He's not alone.
You'll die
So Richard Bad Guy comes to his aid out of, friendship, to be his friend. And that really, you need to be able to sustain yourself with believing that you've changed, but people just need friends.
He's saying that
And there's Leo talking to Josh, and Josh can finally understand Leo, because
Leo, you cannot hold me back forever.
Josh has finally earned the ability to understand
The cows
Leo.
were too scared to fight back. We inspired
We were
them
filming
to.
this out on a cow farm in the middle of the night, and it for some weird reason was also really cold this day. Yeah, I think you can actually see the our breath coming out of our mouth in some shots because it's so cold.
Showed them to always rise up.
And Leo picks up Yama and goes like, "All right, I'm gonna like rip you to pieces in an explosion." You can see the breath there. It was so cold.
That's Yama's problem. He doesn't believe that people can change. That people
This
can.
is going to be the conclusion with the villain, with Yama being the sole problem with the idea of judgment, of judging people, where you just need to be a friend.
He's got to be around here somewhere.
Guys, I don't know.
And then we come together with this happy ending of these characters.
Dudes, I think I see him. Where? Look.
And then, of course, actually, the background music here is from the Stardust Crusaders original soundtrack, and that's because the original film had a lot of songs from that soundtrack too, and I wanted to pay homage to that.
But what happened to Yama?
Here's some quick explanation here with, everyone's all back together. In the original version of the scene, it was actually supposed to be a parting of ways. They all came together. They all came together to kind of say goodbye, but or like to help them, but then to say goodbye.
So what next?
There is no next.
But I
brought
thought it would be a
back
lot more
together for this
impactful to where
mission,
it's
and
Josh and
I'm
saying
not
like,
gonna
I
drag
brought
you
everyone
into
together for
anything
the sake of
that
this
I do.
mission for my own
Are you
good, but
kidding? We can't stop
I
now.
shouldn't
We
be
just found our
forcing
group.
everyone to keep doing
But let's get
this
rid
all.
of the
Like it,
kidnapping part, please.
kind of bringing this like found family aspect in. But I found out I realized it's better for everyone to stay together for that kind of happy ending that the adventures continue. I thought that would be a lot more impactful than just having everyone part their own ways.
I guess I'm gonna be needing a new name.
Because I think it's something. I think it really is something big to say.
Well, if we're gonna be working together, I think we're gonna need a new kick butt team.
I think it's very important to have everyone just the adventures continue.
That is a good name.
Man, I don't speak cow. What
Of course, the team name will be Moosion Impossible.
Moosion Impossible.
And then the dramatic team shot, the happy music, rise up to the sky, and fade to white. And the team is together. And then, of course, you always got to end with the fun actual adventures continue scene, where we have two Devons, where we, if you can't tell, there's actually a split frame, to where we had Devon change costumes here. And I wanted to really focus on further world building, because, like, Hindu myths are real in this, and, like, other myths, too. Santa Claus is real. We already know that from the very beginning of Christmas. So I thought, let's maybe bring back other Hindu gods. So these are the Ashvins, which are gods of medicine and science, who Yama judged unworthy, and they now are humans too. And so they're reincarnation cycle. So there's these gods, which might be gods, or might be humans, might be anything right now. And so some of them are causing problems, and it's kind of the job of Moosion Impossible to kind of handle them, or handle other weird, wacky things. There was a different version of the scene, which would have been the IMF, the Impossible Mission Force.
No? Just me?
But we ended up settling just for this, because I thought it'd be a bit more entertaining, because we get that familiar thing with these characters, where the banter, or there's the, you get to see these, like, other reincarnated gods who are just really weird. And then you have Leo coming and saving them, and just fun comedy. I found this to be a lot more of an entertaining ending.
Is that the cow?
Hey, Leo.
Attaboy, Leo. Thumbs up. But then you get the really fun cutaway with the... I just want to have an ending that just felt fun.
All right, so initiate an escape.
Where you can just imagine
What
more
are we
adventures
thinking?
these
Jam
characters
cabin
would be on.
plans are always a bit too complicated.
So yeah, like it's the whole like I said I'd handle it this time, and makes the flames burn the place down. The cutaway to Moosion Impossible Cowabunga title card, Mission Impossible themed rock and roll with the credits. And so that is Mission Impossible Cowabunga. To where this is my first time actually seeing the movie full the way through. So Leonardo DiCaprio and Mooey are played by themselves. But so I think it's ultimately pretty tied together. It's not perfect, for sure. But I think honestly, it's a fun film. It does what I wanted to, not everything. Sometimes things just don't go the whole way you want. But I think that's what makes movies just fun. Like making these movies so much fun, why I love doing them. Because you just have a great time. And I loved making this. We filmed at a lot of different places and a lot of things went wrong. But I have a lot of faith that this was great. I loved it. My name is Tristen Fry, writer and director of Moosion Impossible Cowabunga, and thank you for joining me on this director's commentary.